share His grace on America, America. Keep the children free.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I want to introduce very early on my very special guest, none other than Michael Cohen. Bring Michael Cohen onto the stage. Michael, let me say these kind things about you before we begin our show. We meet people in a special place. Maybe not in a place of biology, brothers and sisters. But I think ultimately the brotherhood, the sisterhood of all human beings is in a spiritual place. I went through something in my life, the incarceration experience, which changed my outlook. It changed how I feel about my brothers and sisters around me. Many of us are approaching our middle ages, and I've observed people change. I've changed. I'm not the same person I was when I was in Congress for 17 years, and I'm not the same person I was when I was in college. And so I met Michael Cohen. I've yet to shake his hand. I've yet to embrace him. I've yet to hug his wife and say hello to his children. I've yet to do all of that. But I met him in a very spiritual place. The circumstances of our lives brought us together, and I count him in many ways as a brother in a spiritual place because we share an experience that matters to us. It matters to our country. Our lives do matter. They are important to the future direction of the Republic. And I'm particularly honored that Michael Cohen is my special guest today. Michael, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. And I feel very much the same way. You're right. It's amazing in 2025 with technology as it is. I almost feel as if though I've known you my entire life, that you've been one of my friends my entire life. And yet we're brothers through technology, I guess, is how we would say.
Now, I know that our particular first segment is going to be somewhat short. KBLA had some commercials that ran over. In fact, we have about 1 minute left. So I'm just going to ask you a basic question. How's your family doing? How are you doing? And when we come forward after the next 3 minute or so break, we'll dive right into all of the issues. How's your family doing, Michael?
So, it's a very interesting time for all of us. For me, being Jewish, it's Passover. For those who are Christian, it is obviously Easter. So happy Easter Friday to all. And let me just say, my family, very much as I'm certain your family, they suffer. They suffer from the stigma of having a parent who is, has that felony conviction behind. They watch as I continuously work to push forward for what I believe in. But to say the least, they suffer as much, if not more, than the parent. It reminds me of President Obama's book, right? The Sins of My Father. It's a tough one to swallow as a parent.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, our very special guest today is Michael Cohen. We're going to catch up on the inside thinking of President Donald Trump. Michael and I are going to share our experiences and some of the things that we are going to do together to get Donald Trump's attention. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, this is Dr. Rosa Milligan calling authors and business owners to register now for Black Writers on Tour plus Business and Tech Expo Saturday, April 26th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Carson Community Center.
Authors, aspiring writers, learn how to write, publish, and sell your book. Business owners, Black folks got the memo and they're looking for you now. Let them know where you're at. Call 323-750-3592. It's a free event. You heard right, free. And there's something for everybody. Go to blackwritersontour.com and register today. 323-750-3592.
Literacy and technology is everybody's business. Black Writers on Tour, Saturday, April 26th, 10 to 3 p.m. Admission and parking are free. See you there. 323-750-3592. Or visit Black Writers on Tour. Don't you miss it.
Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
After producing an award-winning climate justice campaign in 2024, KBLA Talk 1580 has gone all in on its 2025 Climate Justice plus Black Health Initiative. April is Minority Health Month, and Urban Family Focus, in partnership with Providence Health Systems, presents The Heart of the Matter. Providence doctors and health equity officers will participate in informative and life-changing conversations on hypertension, health equity, behavioral health, and community engagement. Don't miss these empowering conversations on Urban Family Focus every Saturday in April at 7 and Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sponsored by Providence, Southern California's largest and most comprehensive health care network. We've got a lot to talk about on KBLA Talk 1580. Download the KBLA 1580 app or log in to KBLA1580.com. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. On KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Barbecue season is back. Hey, it's Ellen.
And this is Sarah Beth.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that zesty barbecue sauce. I love that it was a little sweet, a little tangy, and with the mac and cheese.
I feel like I tasted the brown sugar bacon first. It was the absolute best combination. Pro tip, 3 sandwiches are always better than 1.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and our Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk
1580. Mr. Jackson Jr., welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is none other than attorney Michael Cohen. Michael, along my journey, I want to dive right in. Along my journey, I made this discovery in the Constitution of the United States that the founding fathers themselves called the finger of God. The finger of God. The authentic religion of Jesus of Nazareth is in the Constitution. It is a word construction that reflects a lineage from David to Jesus. Matthew chapter 1, verse 1 through 17, but specifically verse 17. David, commander of the army and militia, and the repriever pardoner, Jesus of Nazareth. The strength, the power of America is in the lineage of that story. Dr. King, in one of his final books, Strength to Love, the final chapter is called Anecdotes for Fear, How to Overcome Fear. Michael, I think you're in that tradition when I hear that the No Fear Tour is selling out all across the country.
Yeah, we started it, Jesse. We started it first in New York at Theater 555, which is an off-Broadway theater. Jim Acosta and I co-hosted it. We were fortunate enough to get the likes of Don Lemon, of Olivia Troy, Tara Setmayer, Harry Dunn, and the comedian Matt Friend. It was a real show. But in fact, I have to tell you, during our conversations, when you speak about the finger of God, when you talk about, or the hand of God, I should say, or you talk about the founding fathers, it kind of gave me some inspiration, which is what I used in my opening, which I have posted both on my Substack and also on my YouTube channel. But I want to speak to your listeners for a second so that they could get the flavor of your inspiration to me, as a friend, as somebody who I count on, as we're trying to, together, you and I, push forth something for Trump that will benefit so many millions. I mean, when I say tens of millions, I'm talking tens and tens of millions of dollars. What I did is I said, now, before I say anything else, I want you to imagine something with me. And I asked those in the audience to close their eyes if they need to, but go there with me. And I tell them to imagine standing in a small room lit by candlelight. It's 1787. There's no microphones. There's no social media. Just ink-stained hands, sweat on their brows, and a dream, a radical dream, that people could govern themselves. Imagine Madison, Hamilton, Franklin, Jefferson, all of them sitting in the heat of Philadelphia, a Philadelphia summer, arguing, debating, pushing back against the idea of unchecked power. Because they've just broken from a king, a tyrant, a man who believed the government existed for him and not for the people. Now, I want you to imagine them stepping into this moment today, right now, seeing this America. What do you think that they would say? What would they feel seeing a president stand before the American people, not to unite, but to divide, to inflame, to lie? Would they say, this is what we built? Or would they ask, how did it come to this? Because make no mistake, they saw it coming. They may not have known that Twitter was, but they knew. They knew power. They knew how it corrupts. They knew that someday someone would come along who didn't want to be bound by laws. And you all know who I'm referring to. And this is a problem. Now, Jesse and I have something that we have to contend with. There's a concept that we're trying to put forward, to put before this individual who sees himself above the law, not above God, but above the law. And it's our hope, it's my hope for certain, that the letter that we intend to send to him will reach into his heart and into his soul. Because if we are successful in what we want to do, Jesse, what do you think the number is? 70 million, 60 million people will benefit from this act, this godly act?
That's correct.
That you and I have been talking about and have been working on now for several months?
Absolutely. And I just want to add that your inspiring opening speech, I heard Jim Acosta's introduction of you, and I heard the full text of your remarks, which I understand that you have posted. And I hope you share with our listeners after I make these remarks, the location of the full remarks and the Substack itself, where people can get a hold of what you said about the architects of our republic. Michael Cohen and I are going to sponsor together a letter to President Donald Trump to encourage him to use his powers, the power that Congress does not give him, the power that the courts do not give him, but the divine inspirational power given to the office of the president. It doesn't matter who the holder is, and everyone within the sound of my voice knows that I made this appeal to President Joe Biden. He had a chance. We made this appeal in the past. We've written letters. You've heard from Reverend Jackson. You've heard from others. But there are 70 million men and women who have paid their debt to society in full, and many of them are within the reach of the President of the United States to restore their lives to complete citizenship. Michael Cohen came up with the brilliant idea. Jesse, don't stop the campaign just because the Democratic president is no longer president of the United States. Let's continue our crusade right to the doors of Donald Trump's office and appeal to what humanity may exist within the president to speak on behalf of these millions of Americans who do not need 4 more years tacked on to their lives as a felon. They deserve the same kind of forgiveness that Hunter Biden received, that the Biden family received in the final hours of the Biden administration, that 1,500 people who stormed the Capitol received from the President of the United States, the same kind of power that Andrew Johnson gave to men and women who seceded from the Union at the conclusion of the Civil War and after the death of Abraham Lincoln. They deserve that same consideration to restore restore their full rights. And I'm proud to join Michael Cohen in advancing that cause. Michael?
Yeah, look, like I said, 70 million people, based on my estimation, will benefit from the work of Jesse Jackson Jr. and Michael Cohen. And I'm not doing it for my name, and I know Jesse feels the same. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. It was the right thing for Joe Biden to have done. It was the right thing for many people to have done over the years. But for whatever reason, they lacked the courage within which to do it. Now, I don't know whether or not Trump is doing it because it's an act that he feels is spiritual. Is it godly? Or is it simply his ego? To be very clear, I don't care. I truly don't care, because sometimes, even if not done for the right reason, the results
is right.
end up justifying the act.
I agree with that.
And he will be praised for doing exactly what we are asking in that letter, to restore the lives, the dignity, the humanity of almost 70 million people who are somehow affected by that F letter, that scarlet letter that we have to wear. Interestingly enough, should Trump elect to adhere to the desires, the wishes of Jesse Jackson Jr. and Michael Cohen, you know, another person who will benefit from his act of, we'll call it compassion, humanity, and so on? He himself, because he too carries a felony conviction that would
34.
be expunged. So in essence, he would be helping himself during, by doing this, again, incredible, as we like to say in the Jewish religion, this mitzvah.
Michael, let me ask you this question. We have about 3 minutes or so before the break. When I was growing up, my father knew President Trump. We attended boxing matches together next to Don King and Al Sharpton. We all knew Donald Trump. He was funny. He was laughable. In my generation, particularly in the early 80s, he was the symbol of Wall Street. And so many businessmen, young businessmen, I went to business school. Everybody wanted to be Donald Trump in one way, shape, or form. Enter Donald Trump, the candidate. Enter Donald Trump, the apprentice personality. Enter Donald Trump and his allegiance and alliance with some of the far-right elements of our society. Michael, you've known him better than most. What happened?
He became the worst version of himself imaginable. He is surrounded by enablers and sycophants who, I guess if we're going to put it into sort of biblical terms, it would be Judas. Many Judases that are surrounding him. These are individuals that, while they pretend in front of the camera to be concerned about him, to care about him, to be loyal to him, they are not. They are loyal to their own needs, their own wishes, and their own desires. And the problem is, he doesn't really want this job. He didn't want this job. He wanted it only to avoid accountability. He's doing the least amount of work possible. He loves flying around on Marine One. He loves flying around on Air Force One. He loves going to foreign countries, having them roll out the red carpet for him, walk around, inspect the Queen's Army or wherever he might go, being the big guy in the room, because that is what the United States is. But he didn't want this as a job. So he is listening to really bad people. And it has been a problem of Trump's for a long time. The person who whispers in his ear last owns the brain. And that would work if you had Michael Cohen around you, somebody who cared about him like if he was my own family, not these sycophantic enablers that are there looking to take advantage for their own selfish needs.
Well, my sincerest hope I've seen my father go to Libya. I've seen him go to Cuba. I've seen him go to foreign lands and bring back people in an effort to save and redeem and restore their lives as American citizens. It is certainly my hope that Michael Cohen and I can make an emotional and a, if you will, a moral appeal.
Certainly one
The
that would be
President of the
worthy
United
of
States.
your. Certainly one that would be worthy of your namesake.
He sends his very best to you, Michael. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, Michael Cohen and I are going to tackle some of the big issues of the day and what is behind the goal, the thinking of Donald Trump. They range from tariffs to the Department of Education to USAID to the future of the Republic itself. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Doug Davis with 4 things you should know with BIN News. Files on Robert F. Kennedy's 1968 assassination are being released. National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard announced the first batch today. His son RFK Jr. called it a step towards restoring trust in the government. Chicago police are preparing for a potential teen takeover in Streeterville by installing metal fencing to prevent violent gatherings. Alderman Brian Hopkins supports the move, while the city council considers a citywide curfew for groups of 20 or more, with a vote set for next month. Black Atlanta Church faces a lawsuit alleging inhumane working conditions and forced labor. Atlanta News First reports the plaintiff, who began working there in 2014, claims she was trafficked and sexually assaulted while employed at the Atlanta Dream Center Church. And Ice Cube announced the Truth to Power 4 Decades of Attitude tour spanning 22 U.S. and Canadian cities. The tour begins September 4th in Brooklyn and ends October 9th in Toronto. Tickets are on sale today. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Attention parents of high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors. CBU is offering one 8-week online general ed course, free of charge. Courses are online. There's no application fee, and the first class is free. Classes start May 5th. Apply now at calbaptist.edu/PCC.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers are the only teams in the Western Conference playoffs with 3 starters averaging 20 or more points. For the Lakers, it's Luka Doncic, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. For the Clippers, it's James Harden, Norman Powell, and Kawhi Leonard. If these players can maintain their scoring averages, Minnesota could have a tough time defending the Lakers in their first-round series, and Denver might have a tough time with the Clippers. The Lakers and Clippers have momentum heading into the postseason. Doncic is averaging 34 points in his last 5 regular season games. The Clippers are riding an 8-game winning streak and won 18 of their last 21 games. The Clippers play Game 1 at Denver tomorrow, 12:30 tip-off on ESPN. The Lakers are home against Minnesota tomorrow night. Game 1 jumps off at 5:30 on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
At Providence, health equity is the foundation of our community health initiatives, ensuring care reaches those who need it most. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. African Americans face a higher risk of life-threatening issues like hypertension, the #1 cause of stroke. 55% of Black adults have high blood pressure. The good news is 80% of heart disease is preventable with healthy lifestyle changes and patient-centered care provided by the Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. From routine screenings to advanced procedures, Providence provides comprehensive care for the heart conditions that overly impact our community by ensuring patients receive treatments that's tailored to their needs. Let's stop the trend of being 30% more likely to die from heart-related problems. Take charge of your heart health with world-class cardiologists who deliver the compassionate care you deserve. Visit providence.org/SoCalHeart. That's providence.org/SoCalHeart to request an appointment.
Shaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, Stephanie Mills. The BPC presents The Queens, 4 Legends, 1 Stage Tour. Shaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, and Stephanie Mills. The Queens, 4 Legends, 1 Stage. Mother's Day, May 11th at Kia Forum. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is none other than Michael Cohen. Michael, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks as always for having me, Jesse.
Michael, let me ask you a question. What has been your experience and the reaction from people who have encountered your efforts at the No Fear Tour?
You know, for the most part, people are incredibly excited about it because the amount of fear that is currently being generated by this administration, by the statements, by the actions of the administration are so significant that people have anxiety beyond anxiety. And one of the things that myself and, again, Jim Acosta with, our special guests, depending upon what state that we're going to be in, is to ensure that people understand that you are not alone in this journey. One of the other things that we try to express is that this is not, and I want to repeat that, this is not an anti-Trump tour. What this is it's a no fear tour. The people who I fear in this administration, it's not Donald Trump, despite the fact as the chief executive, the buck stops with him. But again, it's the enablers around him. It is the level of incompetence that is around him. It is the lack of humanity, the lack of decency, the lack of honor that they are displaying as our leaders. When you start listening, for example, to people like Tom Homan, who is the director of ICE, and he starts talking about how it's proper to remove an individual, to disappear him to an internment camp in El Salvador after the Department of Justice acknowledges that it is a mistake, after the lower court demands that the United States government bring him back, that the Supreme Court says that they must help effectuate this return. And he says, no, we don't. No, we don't. He's a criminal. He's MS-13. He was the head of the MS-13 division in New York, despite the fact he's never even been to New York, which is a hell of a trick. I mean, it is this sort of lack of humanity, of decency, a lack of acknowledgement of accountability. The fact that, okay, you made a mistake. I get it. Just bring the guy back. And then you have Pam Bondi, who I had a chance to meet. And I've never felt this way about her, where she turns around and she makes the bold statement, the obnoxious and rude statement that all of a sudden the family, the wife, and the child are better off without the father, despite the fact that, again, the DOJ, the department that she is the head of, acknowledges that they made a mistake. It was a clerical error.
Michael,
the fact that this administration refuses, when you have the president of the United States with the president of El Salvador, President Bukele, turns around and says there's nothing that we can do to bring, but yet a Senator Van Hollen from Maryland who goes ahead and he goes to El Salvador, and he has a chance to actually meet with Kilmer Abrego Garcia, to meet with him, and also to talk to him to demonstrate proof of life in a place that is not even the prison facility. That makes me very skeptical of the people who are leading us.
Michael, but let me agree with you. I would just add the caveat, which you already know the litany. People are afraid. Federal workers are afraid. They don't know whether or not they have a job by the end of the day, or whether or not they'll be able to pay their mortgages by the end of the month. The tariffs are overwhelming American farmers. The tariff war with China in particular, but certainly the uncomfortable position that the president has put us in with Canada. Canadians are not coming to the United States. Europeans are threatening their own versions of the trade war and the tariff war, if you will. African countries are being asked in terms of natural resources to dig even deeper. Therefore, future generations of Africans will have less natural resources in order to overcome the inflation that is the byproduct of the disruption that the president of the United States is representing in the marketplace. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, people are afraid. And I hear what you're saying. And I read what Dr. King said about anecdotes for fear. And I know that Reverend William Barber has been talking about the idea of a poor people's campaign where we have more in common across religious lines, across racial lines, across cultural lines, across state lines, across county lines, between rural areas and urban and suburban areas. We have more we have more in common than without them. People are afraid. And yet, in this moment, you emerge, along with Don Lemon and others, with a no fear tour. Man, that's really, really powerful stuff, Michael.
It needs to be powerful, Jesse. That's the whole thing. You know, half my family live in Toronto. My father was Canadian until he became a U.S. citizen in 1976. That was already being in this country for about 12 years on a visa, where he had come to this country to teach head and neck reconstructive surgery. To be honest, my cousins, when I speak to them, they scratch their heads and they're like, what the hell is going on there? Right? Do you realize that it is more than just government workers? It is more than just civil servants. It is from our farmers to our unions to every facet of American life. The people that the president during the campaign promised that if you join me on this journey, I will protect you. He's not just only not protecting them. He's actually pushing them down the well himself, because none of this is necessary. These tariffs are not what they are described as. They are not bringing in money to America. These foreign countries that Trump keeps talking about, $7 trillion is going to be invested in America. I'll tell you what, I plan on being back on Jesse's show many more times. He is my brother, and that's what we do. We uplift one another. But let me be very clear. We will never see that $7 trillion of foreign investment into this country. Why? Well, because people like Jerome Powell, who used to be one of the partners in the Carlyle Group, one of the biggest funds in America, in the world, is telling you that this is not a tariff that is on the country, whether it's China, Vietnam, Canada, Italy, France, Germany, whomever. It is a tax on you and me. That's all. It is a tax disguised, right? Claiming that these foreign countries will be paying it. No, the consumer pays it. And we're already beginning to see that. Do you know, as a statistic, 80% of all of the items in your home, right? Because Americans like cheap goods, are coming from China. Now whack up another 145% from the beginning, from the inception, meaning everybody in the supply chain has to make their 10, 15, 20% profit. By the time it reaches the consumer, it is well in excess of 250% as a additional cost. Your avocados from Mexico will not be 50 cents or 75 cents. They will be $3. Your pens that you pay, a package of 10 for $1 will be $3. I mean, everything is going to cost the American consumer a whole lot more. So prepare for that. And the question that I ask, why shoot yourself in the foot? Right? He's shooting himself in the foot, and then he's blaming the gun manufacturers for it. That's the mistake.
Well, Michael, I mean, I'm so honored that you've taken time out of your very busy schedule to join us on our show. When we come forward, Michael Cohen is still our very special guest. Michael, I want to talk with you about what he's doing at Harvard, what he's doing at Princeton, what he's doing with the universities. And it just seems that it is clearly an overreach. It's clearly some kind of, maybe not a financial shakedown, but some kind of cultural shakedown to undermine the activity that students normally engage in from the years of 18 to 21, where they really have left the nest and are beginning to mature. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. My very special guest when we come forward is none other than Michael Cohen.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number and put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Hi, I'm Joe Montaigne. Let's talk about veteran homelessness, because it's not just a housing issue, it's a human issue. Right now, we need LA property owners to open their doors and give veterans a safe place to call home. With guaranteed rent and dedicated support, you can be part of the solution. Learn how you can help. Email houseourvets@lacity.org.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
If you've struggled to lose weight in the past, this important message is for you, because you could lose as much as 50 pounds or more with Zelfie. Zelfie makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelfie providers can prescribe FDA-approved GLP-1 weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight, like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others. Plus, help get the medication covered by insurance, so it's as little as $0 a month.
The doctors are super helpful, and the meds have been a game changer. It's the first program I've had success with.
Before Zelfie, I was unable to lose weight, even though I was eating healthy and exercising 6 days a week. Zelfie helped me not only lose weight, but I feel so much better.
Text GOAL to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy or Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text GOAL to 200-300. That's GOAL to 200-300. GOAL to 200-300.
Yeah. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We have about 5 more minutes of Michael's time, and then I'm going to opine on Easter and the resurrection, if you will, of the American people. Michael, just before you share with us your thoughts on what's taking place in these colleges and universities and this amazing government overreach, which includes the deportation of activists, students who are here on student visas, I want to hear your thoughts about what that means, but I also want to know, how can our listeners join your Substack? How can they support your work? How can they stay in touch with, if you will, your ministry?
So go ahead and you go to Substack, go to The Real Michael Cohen. You subscribe there. There's free, there's paid. It's whichever. And by following me there, you'll find out where the next No Fear Tour is going to be. Again, Jim Acosta and I are the hosts of the No Fear Tour. And looks like the next one may be in Virginia or in Chicago. Or even Atlanta. So these are the 3 areas that we're beginning to work on as we speak. As far as what's happening with the universities and so on, I have a real, as I'm sure you do, a real fundamental issue with this rollout, or I should say the rollout of the lack of a policy. This is all, as Donald likes to say, a concept of a policy. There is no policy there. So what is he doing? He doesn't like the speech. He doesn't like the activity. He doesn't like the protest. And so he deems them illegal. Well, the problem is, and Jesse, as lawyers, one of the things that we look for is the definition. What is the legal definition of an illegal protest? Unfortunately, there is no such thing. This is a term that he created while sitting at the Resolute desk, having a conversation, disguising it in the form of anti-Semitism as a way to battle anti-Semitism. Now, as a Jew, I stand with Israel. I stand with Israel. I have 200 second cousins that live in Israel. However, I have dozens of friends who are Palestinian. And I also believe in a 2-state solution. I am nauseated when I see an innocent child, a woman, right, or a young man dead in the streets as a direct result of these bombardments. I fear and I feel for them as I feel if it's an Israeli soldier or what happened on October 7th. I feel for all of them. I want this stupidity, this loss of life to stop. Life is too precious. And so when you're now turning around and telling somebody that we can jail you, we could disappear you based upon an ideology, a thought, a feeling that you have, whether you like that feeling or not, if it wasn't for that right, that First Amendment right to speech, women would not be allowed to vote. Women would not be allowed to drive cars. Women would not be allowed to own land. The civil rights movement, to which your father was such a major, major part of, along with so many other memorable names, would never exist today, simply because the president could say, that, sir, is illegal speech. They grab you, they bag you, they tag you, they throw you in the back of some sort of a vehicle, they ship you off to, some institution that's like a gulag in the middle of El Salvador, or they deport you, they throw you out of the school. This isn't normal. This isn't the United States. This isn't what made America great for 250 years. Nonsense. And it's scary.
My very special guest has been Michael Cohen. Michael is a great friend. Michael and I are co-sponsoring a letter to President Donald Trump very soon about our desire and hopefully his power to grant new life to debt-paid felons in the United States. His penmanship does not require the Congress or the courts. We saw that on his inauguration day when he pardoned 1,500 men and women who stormed the Capitol. And he has the power to grant new life in the Constitution of the United States to the American people. Michael, thank you very much for joining me on our show.
Jesse, as always, great to see you, my brother. And I am honored to be a part of your life and your listeners.
I can't wait for us to get together in Chicago on the No Fear Tour. As soon as it is scheduled, we'll keep promoting it right here on our show.
And you, my friend, will be on the dais next to me.
I look forward to it, sir. Thanks,
Thank
Michael.
you.
Welcome forward to an amazing Easter season. Today is Good Friday. This coming Sunday, those of us who are Christians celebrate the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus of Nazareth's life is really the turning point in human history. It's impossible to imagine human history before the life of Jesus. Not only does he divide time between BC and Anno Domini, AD, his ministry also divides human history as well. For those whose lives come into contact with Jesus of Nazareth and his ministry, 2,025 years later, we are simply not the same. The person we were before is not the person we are after. When we came into contact with God's grace, through the liberating ministry of Jesus of Nazareth, the person that we were before is not the person we are after. That's what we believe in the Christian experience. When we come into contact with merciful acts, not just by Jesus of Nazareth, but by those who follow Jesus of Nazareth. When someone shows us mercy, the person we were before, it's impossible not to be a new person afterwards. When we come into contact with the forgiveness of man, a concept that before the life and ministry of Jesus of Nazareth is almost impossible to imagine. After Jesus of Nazareth, the ministry is central to human history and to human civilization. Civilization simply cannot survive without forgiveness. Every one of our lives needs some form of forgiveness. Your parents have forgiven you. Your neighbors have forgiven you. Your siblings have forgiven you. Every person who grants another person forgiveness grants them a second chance. The true power of love, Dr. King argued, over hate, is that hate was so destructive not only to us physically, but to our mentality and to our very hearts and souls, that only love could overcome the idea of hate. All of that's bundled up in the 3-year ministry of Jesus of Nazareth. And in a real sense, when the architects of our republic wrote the Constitution of the United States, they recognized that Jesus of Nazareth was not a Christian. The Christian religion, the religion of Paul, the religion of the followers of Jesus, the religion that started denominations and congregations and churches, comes after Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus, when he walked the earth, was in a religion by himself. All of the prophetic understanding from the Bible was that whoever the Savior would be would come in the form of the lineage of David. He would come from the house of David. Between David's reign and the birth and crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth, there are 28 generations. Between the commander of the army and militia, David, the young king who slew Goliath with a slingshot and a single stone, in that religion where one person has the courage to fight the people's battle, David became the commander of the army and the militia. And Jesus of Nazareth, the repriever, pardoner, the person who grants forgiveness, mercy, redemption, restoration, second chances, love, mercy. The repriever, pardoner, David and Jesus, commander of the army, and the repriever, pardoner, the person who grants mercy and pardons. They put this religion, this 28 generations of biblical history, in the Constitution in Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1, and the founding fathers themselves called it the finger of God. James Madison, in Federalist number 37, says, "It is impossible for a man of pious reflection not to perceive in it the finger of the almighty hand, which is signally responsible for the rebellion." Just 30 days after the Constitution, in the New York Advertiser, Alexander Hamilton writes, "For my part, I sincerely esteem the Constitution, a system which without the finger of God never could have been devised upon such a diversity of interests." We need in our society on this Resurrection Sunday the rebirth of the nation, not the birth of the nation, the rebirth of the nation. And it is only possible when we extend mercy, grace, and justice to all. America and the restoration of Americans is possible. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Happy Easter.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica,